Welcome or welcome back to my space. My name is Ari. I wanted to welcome you along for my February reading wrap up. I read about 8 books this month, and so I thought I would go through each of them and my thoughts and feelings on them. And thanks for joining. First book we read this month, well, I should say finished, was Funny Story by Emily Henry. This was my goal to have finished it end of January because I had started it then, and I'm glad I got to actually finish it this month. I gave it 4.25 stars. I thought it was really funny. I thought the romance was cute. I thought the sex scenes were great. I never care for third act breakups, but I do like how they came together. I love how the main character was a librarian and how he's down on his luck as well with, so if you don't know, the story is about these two characters, roommates after their prospective partners break up with them. She was due to be married, and then I believe they were still just dating at this time with him and his girlfriend, but they broke up because the exes were childhood best friends to lovers, and so it's their story of kind of dealing with that while she's also trying to plan a readathon at the library that she works at. And so really enjoyed it. Always love a good Emily Henry book. It was a good way to start off the month of February with it being, you know, Valentine's and everything, and I like to get into the mood with my mood reading, so February being romance. I did a good amount of romance books this month. Next book I read was Bridgerton. I read the first one, The Duke and I, with Daphne and Anthony, or not Anthony, Anthony's the second book, with Simon and Daphne. So I watched the series when it came out. I just finished up the most recent season, and I finally decided it's time to read them. So I got the Barnes & Noble special edition ones. I did do the audiobook off of the Libby app just because it's a little bulky, especially with it being the 2 books to carry this around. So I gave this one, my computer will, or my iPad will unload. I gave it 3.75 stars. Now, is it groundbreaking romance? No. I also did like that it differed from the series, and so getting to know Simon's story at the beginning rather later on, I still got annoyed with the essential, I don't know if I could say this on YouTube, but the abuse that she did when she found out how one gets pregnant. Didn't care for that in the show, really didn't care for that in the book. Very frustrating. But I do like this Regency era storylines. So I'll continue with the books and stuff. Hated that was still in the book, but that's okay. So once again, 3.75 stars. Alright, so the next book that I read was The Wedding Witch. Technically it's a Christmas book. I just didn't pick it up till now. I've had it on my shelf for a hot second. I own the other books by Erin Sterling, another favorite romance author of mine. She writes a lot of witchy romance books, which I enjoy. And so this one deals with, I can't remember his name, Bowen Penhowell. So the other 2 books deal with the other 2 brothers. Bowen, and Tamsin is who works for him. She has been helping him collect all these different magical items, and so it's essentially workplace romance, essentially, where she and him fall in love with each other. And if I remember right, he fell first, and so she's doing one last mission on her own, even though that's kind of breaching their contract, while he's off visiting family. And while she's doing this mission, the 2 of them cross paths at the same place, and a whole thing goes on where it sends them back in time. I don't want to spoil what happens there, but they get sent back in time and have to figure out how to get 2 people to fall back in love with each other or run the risk of messing up the future, which always is a good time. So loved it. Also loved the sex scenes in this one. Very good. Love Erin Sterling's romance books. And so I gave this one 4 stars. Very good. Probably would have rated it higher if I actually did read it during Christmas time. So I'll probably re-pick this back up come December this year and see if that changes my ratings or anything. So come to see if that happens. As I mentioned, February was a big romance month for me. So my next book was The Icebreakers. So it's about Anastasia and Nate. Anastasia is an ice skater who's trying to join the Olympics. Nate's, of course, a hockey player, if you can't tell, and if you've never seen this book before. And they end up having to become partners so that then she can continue her practice towards this big competition that she has. So it's very cute. She pushes away anybody and everybody who tries to show her love. But of course, he comes through and he's the one for her. Loved it. Very good, very smutty. So don't be fooled by the little cute cartoons. Very smutty. Don't read this if you're under 18. I gave this one 4.25 stars. I wasn't too thrilled with the epilogue at the end, with it just being like 2-3 years later. And then she magically gets pregnant after her competition. So I just don't know. That didn't do it for me. So I think I'm for sure going to read the second book in this series, but maybe skip the epilogue if it's similar to that. Well, I'll just have to kind of see what happens when I finally get to that book. But overall, very good. Enjoyed their romance and them coming together. Alright, so I don't know which order I'm going to be uploading my videos. If I'll be uploading my ACOTAR themed brunch first, or if I'll be doing this one, we'll have to see. So if it's up, go check out my ACOTAR brunch. I did that with a bunch of my friends. And with that happening we're now in March, happening in March, I went through and reread the first 3 books of the ACOTAR series. So of course I started with The Corns of Thorns and Roses. I did the audiobook just because I was trying to do all of the things in February, trying to get everything together for the party while still like taking care of everything that I needed to take care of. And February is a really busy month for me for work, so I just didn't have the time to just sit down and read this one or any of them. So I just audiobook 1.75 speed and went with it. Still really liked it. I missed a bunch of stuff when I first read through it, and so it was really fun to like go back through and listen to it again. I always forget that they have the dramatized versions. So I think the next time I go to do these series again, I'm going to do the dramatized version. So I'm excited to see the cast of characters and all the stuff that goes along with them, because I've never done a dramatized book before. And so this one, 4.5 stars, even though Tamlin's in it, but it's okay. Still really loved it. This was actually the book that first got me back into reading post-college, and so it just has a special place in my heart. Before I jump into the next Court of Mist and Fury book, I did read a Kindle book throughout the month of January to February. It was a 600-page fantasy book called Children of Madness by Jared Brandon Early. So I got this one through a Stuff Your Kindle day, and I highly recommend it. If you're into like fantasy and D&D, it really read like a D&D campaign where it's like each chapter was like their portion of the adventure. And so a group of kids are tasked with trying to get to this northern area where, here, let me run it back. So the group of children, they're from the, oh gosh, I'm blanking on the town name. So the kids are from the Stenches, this town where this whole group of people were banished to. The air is poisonous, everything is poisonous, so everyone born there, living there, grows up to have yellow eyes, and they develop what's called the maddening. So as they progress, essentially the poison just like starts eating away at their like mental state, and so they slowly go crazy, for lack of a better word, and they end up dying at a young age in result to the maddening. So they are tasked to go, it's 5 kids, to go to this northern part of this forest that is also poisonous. So they're assuming, since the kids already live in this poisonous area, they'll be fine in the northern town. And so they go along and go through all of these different trials and tribulations, because the kingdom has promised them if they can get this like solution to their problem, that the kingdom will send the best doctors and everything to go and cure the maddening, cure the air, cure everything for them. And so They go through so many different towns, meet so many different people, and it was just so good. It was heartbreaking, it was enlightening, it was funny. The kids are so funny, and so I can't recommend it enough. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was a very good book. The chapters were long, which is why I dropped it to 4.5 stars, because I struggle. I can't finish and like stop reading unless I finish the chapter. So I was like trying to go through the long chapters and finish through before putting the books down. And so that's why I gave it 4.5 stars. But I highly recommend picking it up, reading it. I'd recommend reading it through the Kindle app just for the sake of, like I said, it's almost a correction. It's 673 pages. So if you can pick it up through the Kindle app, I would do that. And highly recommend supporting this author. I'm going to check out to see if he has any other books and see what else he has to offer. After I finished The Children of the Madness, we had to jump back to the Court of Mist and Fury book. I lucked out with my Libby app where I got all 3 books in the month of February and could read them all before my brunch. So next was Court of Mist and Fury. I forgot how much bigger this book was than the last book until I was going through it. And once again, I just forgot so many bits and pieces when I read it the first time to reading it now. And it just reminds me once again of how much I love Rhys and the Night Court and everybody in there. Still can't stand Hamlin and all the things that he did, and I can't with him. So this one I gave 4.5 stars. I still like this one much better than the first book, even though it has a special place in my heart. I just love Rhys's character and how he helps Feyre throughout all of her trials and tribulations post first book. So still so good. All right, so the last book that I read in the month of March, I had just finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, literally last day of February, right before the 1st, which is when I had the party. And so this one, I will be honest, it's not my favorite book of the series. I know they've been building up to the war in the second book and in the third to this book. I don't know. It pulls me away, and I just don't care for how it's done, for lack of better words. You know, me saying this as someone who can't write a book, but Rhys and Feyre's relationship as it continues throughout this book, I love it. I wish Elaine does more throughout this whole series. She does kind of frustrate me with just the lack of stuff that she does. I get that she's traumatized, I get that she's been through it, but at the same time, she sent her younger sister out into the forest in the first book and didn't do anything to help the family then. And other than her seer elements that she has towards this book, I don't know. And I'm waiting to get the last book, for A Court of Silver and Flames, because I'm skipping over the Christmas book for now until Christmas time. Because I want Nesta back. I want to see all the things that she does, and I'm ready for that loan to come out. So with that, that's all the books that I read in February. I had, like I said, a good reading month. I read half of those through audiobook, which helped out a ton to get as many books as I did in. I'm hoping that I'll get through hopefully a similar amount of books come March. March is a little bit more busy for me, so we'll kind of see when I have the time to do so. But I wanted to talk about some hopefuls. I am reading for a book club, Blood Over Bright Haven. I want to get through that one. I have finally picked up a library card in the new town that I'm living in. So I have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I've had this on my TBR for a few years now. So I'm excited to get through that one. And then Ariadne. Part of me is just a play on because it's close to my name. And I also like mythology books. So 2 reasons why I want to read it. So I'm excited to see what these two are like. Like I said, I want to get the next book in the ACOTAR series on my Libby app so that then I can finish out the series with my reread and go from there. So let me know what you're reading in the comments. Like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for coming.